Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, December 26th, 2019. And yesterday I posted, well, not, yeah, it was yesterday. Day after Christmas is today, so whatever. But yesterday I posted a thing on my community tab. If you haven't seen it, you didn't miss much. I just asked for suggestions, and I did read a lot of them. A lot of you guys want me to do election predictions and election nights, and the reason why I'm holding off on that for right now, mainly just because I do those at the beginning of the month, and I'd like to start off the new year doing something a little bit different than election predictions. So you'll probably see those probably right near January 4th through 7th, somewhere around that time frame. You might see my first prediction of the 2020 year. I can't believe we're this close. I started this channel back in 2017, but now is not a time for YouTube Rewind. Let's just take a look at what this video's purpose was. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I thought it would be fun. If you have the app Snapchat, you know the 1 year ago today thing. So that's pretty much where I got the inspiration for that. If you don't have the app, essentially, when you save a video to your camera roll through the app, it shows it to you exactly 1 year later, and it's like a little recap of what happened exactly on this day 1 year ago. So I decided to do that with the 2020, presidential nomination area, because this was right before Elizabeth Warren announced, and then every other famous, I guess you could say, announcement. So, wait, maybe I'm wrong. No, that was definitely not. I was gonna say maybe Elizabeth Warren announced 2017. Absolutely not. But let's go ahead and figure out the day. So day after Christmas, December 26th. To now, so the first day should be December 26th. Now, what I'm actually focused on is the numbers then compared to now. We've had pretty much the same two leading candidates that we've seen throughout the entire campaign season, but there is something to note a little bit here. Not much has changed for a lot of these candidates. We have seen Harris drop out. We have seen O'Rourke drop out. A lot of these candidates weren't actually thrown into the mix until, right around this area where we're starting to see, I guess Marianne Williamson was when we actually, okay, I hate that because it just messed up the whole, oh my goodness, okay, whole purpose of this video. But that's when they actually started including all of the candidates that were running the 20 plus. But still, taking a look at exactly 1 year ago, there's a lot to take in. First things first, Joe Biden practically has remained the same after a year of campaigning. Yes, he's had his ups, he's had his downs, but he's moved by 0.6 in 365 days. That's not to say other candidates have done too much better. There is one in particular who you can pretty much already tell has done way better than where she started off this early in the campaign season. But, man, that is a hard number to crunch for Biden. Though he has remained in the lead, when other candidates are building up their numbers, the coalition to vote against Biden at the contested convention, if we do reach one, gets much more powerful. But taking a look at the O'Rourke voters here, those voters definitely were going to cross over to Joe Biden anyway. If you take a look at the Texas Democratic nomination area, a lot of those voters that were for strong O'Rourke voters immediately crossed over to Biden. O'Rourke seems to have this allegiance to Joe Biden to defend him at campaign stops, even when he was running for president. I think he's definitely vying for that VP spot. We'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. But O'Rourke, he was a strong guy. I mean, he definitely rose to power very, very quickly. President definitely wasn't for him this time around, which is why he dropped out. Harris is in fourth place here, which I find, interesting. She started off as a very notable name, though only polling at 5% early on. We saw that she did get a little bit more of a boost and then started to go under Buttigieg until her first debate bump. But starting off in the campaign season in fourth place nationwide is never something bad. But pretty much Harris is there, and Warren was the candidate that I was talking about when I said a candidate has done dramatically better than where they did before. Elizabeth Warren, okay, I think are including Christmas on this, but whatever, nothing changes. But pretty much Elizabeth Warren, she started off at 4.5%. She was a top name for 2016, for crying out loud. I mean, she was a 2012 Senate win, sure, but she she became very, very popular practically overnight. I mean, she went from 4.5% up to 15.3% in a year. When people like Bernie Sanders went up exactly 1 percentage point, people like Joe Biden less than a percentage point, there's not much growth for a lot of these candidates. There is for Pete Buttigieg if you talk about where he started off, but that was not 1 year ago, so I'm not going to mention too much about him. Booker has gone down, and no other candidates were really polled by multiple pollsters at this point in time. So essentially, well, first things first, Biden, right after he announced, he had that huge bump. He went up to 40% nationwide in a field of 20 candidates. Absolutely insane. If they had held every primary that day, he would have won almost all of them. But then we moved down. He dips down after the first debate, goes back up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and now down again, and it seems like it's a pretty plateau area. In fact, all of them seem like they've pretty much plateaued, because if I just highlight this area, it becomes a straight line at a certain point. I mean, it's an increase, decrease for some of them, but then right at this point, pretty interesting. Yes, the data has stayed the same for 3 days in a row, but there definitely is some shifting, but it's just not too much to notice. Let's see if we can go all the way back here. But yeah, I mean, I just find a lot of the information that we're taking a look at. What is the day? 24th. It's not the 24th, but whatever. Just taking a look at a lot of this new or old data, per se, comparing it to new data. It is very, very interesting to digest. It is unfortunate that we don't have Kamala Harris in the race anymore. Unfortunate meaning that, I like to have more candidates in the race, because that means that the election is a lot more interesting than if it just dies down to Sanders versus Biden facing off, none of the other candidates making it to the debate. And O'Rourke's not in the race either, though I didn't see him too strong of a individual candidate. For the presidency, I definitely saw Kamala Harris that way, definitely saw Elizabeth Warren that way. Cory Booker I find to be an interesting case, because he definitely was someone who, if capitalized on this race correctly, would very well be up in the top 3-4 if he did very, very well. Unfortunately, this race could have been his. Yes, he would have had to fight for it. Yes, it probably would have been through a contested convention, but it doesn't look like he's doing too well now at 2.5%. We might see him drop out of the race at some point, but we probably will see people like Marianne Williamson, Bennett, who also recently tweeted about having kids go to school 6 days a week. And, I promise you, I probably would not show up that 6th day. So that's not going to impact him too much amongst older voters, but younger voters definitely are going to want to flock to him and say, yeah, do that to future generations. But besides that point, that was just something I saw on Twitter. I was like absolutely dumbfounded that anyone would make that claim. I haven't researched much into it, but I saw where he was going with that. Whatever. That's beside the point. I didn't necessarily agree with it. But Julian Castro, Tom Steyer, Tulsi Gabbard, these candidates I definitely could see being picked off one by one. Tom Steyer probably the last out of all of them, maybe Gabbard just for her ego. But Tom Steyer I really don't see wanting to waste too much money on this race. But then again, he did put a lot of money into the impeachment, which did come up and did come to fruition for him. But still, don't think he's going to want to be wasting that much money. John Delaney as well. He has money, but it's not unlimited. He's going to need to drop soon. But yeah, it's pretty interesting that they didn't really throw in a lot of these candidates. You could have pretty much predicted that Bloomberg was going to run back then. I mean, they even did when they pulled him over here. And then he was like, no, I'm not running. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm running. It is interesting how money works its way into politics. Money has 5 letters. Bloomberg's in 5th place. Draw your connections. Just kidding. That's not a real thing, but interesting as well. But they also, I'm surprised that they didn't throw in, a Hillary Clinton poll. They probably did, actually. I could just be wrong about that. Actually, let me see. They have this interesting thing that I want to show you guys. It's like the Democratic betting odds. Yeah, right over here. Where they show where people's money are on candidates. It's not the polling average, but it's where money goes. Okay, so this is actually really, really interesting. So if I go to Max, this is getting really off topic. I'm so sorry. But I'm just going to take a minute to talk about this. I pretty much concluded my video, so I'll just finish it up here. But it's interesting because Harris started off early on, right in the lead. I mean, Biden in second. It's just really interesting to see how the markets drop, especially this was right after the first debate. I mean, Harris skyrockets up. Warren overcomes, at a very, very high point, and now she's way under. I mean, she went from over 50% chance of winning the nomination based off money, all the way down here. And Biden is at his highest point since actually, wait, it might be, no, it's not his highest point, but he's at a very, very high point. This is probably his second highest point ever, which I find to be, insanely interesting. And, that yellow you're seeing over here, that's Hillary Clinton. That is Hillary Clinton. Michelle Obama is on here, okay? And Michelle Obama is higher than Tulsi Gabbard, Cory Booker, Tom Steyer, Julian Castro, Michael Bennett, John Hickenlooper, obviously, Kirsten Gillibrand, obviously, Oprah Winfrey, Kamala Harris, obviously. So that is very, very interesting that Clinton is even considered. Bloomberg is up there as well, jumped up right after his announcement. But where money goes, it is very, very interesting looking at this because it tends to replicate what we see on a polling scale somewhat, but sometimes it's completely out of the ordinary. When we see Elizabeth Warren at this high confidence for consumers, all to be brought back down here just a little bit later. People are definitely buying into Biden at the super low point right over here, probably down here. But it is just very, very fascinating looking at where money draws in comparison to what is happening and what I'm analyzing and seeing how money directly ties into it. As of right now, Biden, Sanders, Warren, Buttigieg, very close to what we're seeing. Bloomberg, very close to what we're seeing. Yang, Klobuchar, very, very close. Very, very interesting as well, just to remember and keep in the back of your head. But obviously, money doesn't always predict everything. If you go on any predictive market, it'll tell you that because I'm talking about predictive.org. They have not been right all of the time, but it is showing a lot of very, very interesting numbers that are reflecting what we might see in the polling as of right now and also what we saw 1 year ago today. So, thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.